While it's been a hot minute, we're back for more Halo 4 Armory goodness. The UNSC has been taken care of, and now it's time to delve into the Covenant Armory. In a surprise turn of events, the Armory for Halo 4 on the Covenant side of things is probably the smallest it's been across the games, save for Halo CE, at least as far as the stuff I choose to cover. All the essentials are there, plus a few new items, but seemingly due to the greater focus on the Forerunners and the new UNSC, the Covenant got cut short compared to previous games, at least proportionally. But that aside, let's dive into Halo 4's Covenant Armory. The Type 25 plasma pistol returns once again, and once again is manufactured by the Eru Armory. Though a newer model sporting a more Sangheili-inspired design has been available since at least 2554, much of Julum Dama's Covenant still use the old T25 model. As we'll see, Covenant remnants often have to use the tech available to them. Beggars can't be choosers. One notable visual difference, though, is the glowing markings on the weapon are now blue rather than their traditional yellow, perhaps indicating a different make than models from previous games. As before, it's a semi-automatic plasma weapon with a 100-unit battery, which can also fire an overcharged shot. The overcharge will create an EMP on impact, taking down personal shielding units and disabling vehicles. This overcharge also has a limited ability to track its targets. The Type 55 Directed Energy Rifle / Advanced, aka the Storm Rifle, is a new plasma-based rifle developed by the Lodam Armory, a Sanghelios-based manufacturer. After spending decades manufacturing armor systems for the Covenant, the Lodam Armory branched out into weaponry, the Storm Rifle being one of their most notable creations. With a rotating modular coil set, high-mounted cooling shroud, and extended barrel, the Storm Rifle is an improvement in every way over its Plasma Rifle and Plasma Repeater predecessors. The Storm Rifle carries on the heritage of Lodam's Storm Harness. Though formerly cataloged by the UNSC in 2555, the Storm Rifle's history spans decades, with Lodam developing several experimental variants in that time, such as the Fury or Blissful Slumber. Used by several post-war Covenant factions, the weapon is commonly used by Spartan 4s as well during their training and even when deploying on missions. Interestingly, the weapon is also commonly seen used by Kig-Yar Rangers. Next up we have the returning Type 51 Carbine, aka the Covenant Carbine, manufactured by the Eru Armory. Little about the Carbine has changed since the Human Covenant War ended. Commonly used by Sangheili, Jiralhanae, and Kig-Yar marksmen, the Carbine fires 8.7 by 60mm caseless radioactive projectiles from a cylindrical magazine. Though several compositions exist, the most common projectiles use an extremely toxic compound mined from a radioactive moon in the Urs system. The Covenant Carbine's magazine is loaded in the top of the weapon, the end of it acting as the holographic ammo counter. When the magazine is emptied, it is ejected along with a puff of radioactive gas and replaced. The Carbine also features a zooming scope to make long-range target acquisition all the easier. When High Charity fell at the end of the Human Covenant War, many manufactorums within its halls fell as well, allowing new manufacturers to take on new and profitable business. The Type 33 Guided Munitions Launcher, once manufactured by the Sacred Promissory, changed hands to the Lodam Armory. Virtually identical to its predecessors, Lodam's Needler is as deadly as ever, firing crystalline shards of Sudanese crystal at high speeds. These shards will shatter after embedding themselves in a target and create a super combine explosion if enough of them are embedded into the same target. Though a newer model, the Type 56, exists by the time of Halo 4, the Type 33 still sees extensive use. The Halo 4 model holds 22 needles per magazine. Halo 4 introduces the Type 27 Special Application Sniper Rifle, manufactured by the Merchants of Keycost, another Sanghelios-based manufacturer. An earlier model of the Covenant's beam rifle that was eventually overshadowed by the Type 50 particle beam rifle, the Type 27 beam rifle operates in much the same way as its successor, firing accelerated ionized hydrogen gas at high speeds. Most often issued to Kig-Yar snipers, the weapon is effective at extremely long ranges, aided by its SmartLink scope, capable of 4x and 10x magnification. The scope often gives off a purple shine when in operation, however, which can give away its operator's position. The Type 27 beam rifle represents a theme with Julum Dama's Covenant and the post-war galaxy, wherein former Covenant species are collecting and using any and all technology available to them, regardless of age. The Type 50 Directed Energy Rifle Heavy, aka the Concussion Rifle, returns from Halo Reach. Still manufactured by the merchants of Keycost, the Concussion Rifle fires 30mm concussive explosive plasma rounds from a 6-round cylinder magazine. When a magazine is expended, the top of the gun pops open to allow the removal and replacement of the spent mag. While this gun's plasma bolts are as deadly as any other, the concussive force unleashed upon impact can knock nearby enemies and debris away, causing additional damage and breaking up enemy units. During the Human Covenant War, the weapon was rarely seen, leading some to speculate that it was restricted either by branch or unit. Post-war, it is still only commonly seen used by high-ranking Sangheili. High Charity's assembly forges are no more, and in the wake of the end of the Covenant War, the merchants of Keycost have taken over manufacturing of the Type 33 light anti-armor weapon, sometimes called the flak cannon, but most commonly referred to as the fuel rod gun. Its common post-war design differs little from variants seen during the final months of the war, and as ever, it fires 5 Class II 38mm radioactive explosive fuel rods from a 5-round clip. These fuel rods are loaded with substances similar to the incendiary gel used in Hunter assault cannons, a Covenant imitation of Forerunner infusion gel. The fuel rods, when fired, have an activation delay to prevent explosions from careless firing. This results in the ability for fuel rods to bounce, so to speak, off surfaces for a brief period of time. Fuel rods fire in an arc and have an effective range of 165 meters or 540 feet. Like the fuel rod gun, the manufacturing of the baseline Type 1 energy weapon/sword has been handed over to the merchants of Keycost. Halo 4 features a slightly newer design with shorter rear blades and the catch moving up from just above the handle to the middle of the sword. In general though, the sword's functionality remains the same as it ever has. Though energy swords were most commonly wielded by high-ranking Sangheili during the days of the Covenant, and still seem to be that way on the battlefield, within Jul'Mn Dama's Covenant, it seems that lower-ranking Sangheili are allowed to wield swords more often. Energy swords come in a variety of shapes and colors, though these are not seen in Halo 4. Interestingly, it's noted in Halo 5 that energy swords manufactured by the Umdama Keep burn less intensely, making it harder to cut armor but leaving a more grievous wound that's unlikely to be cauterized by the blade. Though brutes are absent in Halo 4, the Type 2 energy weapon/hammer, aka the Gravity Hammer, does make a brief appearance. An evolution of traditional Jiralhanae warhammers, which were often used to denote leadership of a pack, the first Gravity Hammer was created by modifying the Fist of Rukt, a legendary Gravity Hammer once wielded by a chieftain named Rukt, and eventually wielded by chieftain of the Jiralhanae, Tartarus. All other Gravity Hammers were modeled after this, and though several variants exist, there's often a standard design. Originally manufactured by High Charity's Sacred Promissory, there doesn't seem to be a single manufacturer who took over after the Covenant War. This either means that Jiralhanae have found a way to manufacture them themselves, or through somebody else, or that they're primarily using existing hammers. Either way, the Gravity Hammer technically only appears in Halo 4's campaign once, aboard the Didact ship the Mantle's Approach, in a room with several other weapons, seemingly being studied or catalogued. The Type 52 Directed Energy Support Weapon, aka the Plasma Cannon, returns, now manufactured by Akoum Weapons. Akoum is also a Sanghelios-based manufacturer, headquartered on the continent of Tovus. The T-52 Plasma Cannon looks rather bulky compared to other plasma cannons, but can still be transported with relative ease and quickly set up. With the right application of strength, the cannon can be detached from its gravity mount and carried into battle. During the Covenant War, it wasn't too uncommon for certain high-ranking Sangheili or Jiralhanae chieftains to use a plasma cannon as their main weapon. Halo 4 introduces the new Type 55 Anti-Infantry Stationary Gun, aka the Shade, also manufactured by Akoum Weapons. Featuring a design reminiscent of the Type 29, another Akoum production, the Shade's operation has changed little, even in the post-war era. It fires superheated plasma at a high rate of fire and can be effective at significant distances. The gun itself and its anti-gravity mechanism are powered by a ruggedized fusion coil embedded in the Shade's base. And closing out the weapons is, as usual, the Type 1 Anti-Personnel Grenade, aka the Plasma Grenade, manufactured by the Iru Armory. Once primed, the grenade begins to leak coolant, after which its internal plasma generator will destabilize and explode. The heat generated by the grenade when the coolant is leaking allows it to melt into the surface of whatever it comes in contact with and stick. The smart matter casing of the grenade also lets it differentiate between an enemy combatant and the environment around it. Plasma grenades have a kill radius of 3.96 meters or 13 feet, and a casualty radius of 12.9 meters or 42 feet. For vehicles, we start with the ever-reliable Type 32 Rapid Attack Vehicle, aka the Ghost, now manufactured by the Lodam Armory. Little about this variant of the Ghost has changed. It's still powered by a boosted gravity propulsion drive, its hull is nanolaminate plating, and it features twin-linked Class 2 directed energy cannons as its main weapon. The version seen in Halo 4 also has a limited boost function like in Halo Reach, which, if you recall previous videos, has been established as a canon feature and not simply gameplay. Though this is not typical, with an additional power source, the Ghost's boost can be forced into an overdrive mode, giving it an unlimited boost, though this can greatly deteriorate the Ghost itself. Like with several of these weapons and vehicles, there are newer models being manufactured mainly on Sanghelios, such as the Type 54 Ghost that features a more Sangheli-inspired design. But again, in the post-war era, one must make use of what one can get their hands on. Next up is the Type 26 Assault Gun Carriage, aka the Wraith, now manufactured by the Lodam Armory. This version also differs little from its Halo Reach counterpart. With its boosted anti-gravity propulsion drive, the rather unwieldy vehicle can traverse almost any terrain, aided by its powerful, though limited, boost function. Its primary weapon is a Type 26 directed energy mortar, which arcs through the air and can hit targets at significant range. A Type 52 plasma cannon is also installed for a gunner to use. Moving over to air vehicles, Halo 4 features the Type 26B ground support aircraft, aka the Banshee, once again manufactured by, say it with me now, the Lodam Armory. And once again, little about it has changed. Its boosted gravity propulsion drive allows the Banshee to easily fly and maneuver through the sky, letting it achieve speeds in excess of 100 km per hour or 62 miles per hour. The drive can also be used to perform complex aerial maneuvers, aka Banshee tricks. In Canon, the Banshee can easily hover in place, though this often isn't the case during gameplay. Banshees are armed with twin Class 2 DEML-AW plasma bolt diffused guns and a Class 3 HAAW/M heavy fuel rod, aka the Banshee Bomb. The Covenant have been using drop pods since Halo 2, and Halo Reach further diversifies the variety of forms they can come in. With Halo 4, we get several new drop pod variants with various functions. The Type 51 Individual Breaching Carapace is a drop pod manufactured by the Lodam Armory. Like the others on this list, it saw regular use during the second Requiem campaign in February of 2558. Used for rapid insertion to planets and enemy vessels, it features forward-braking thrusters for deceleration and terrain-locking prongs on its underside. This drop pod, despite its designation, can carry up to 5 occupants. The Type 53 Squad Breaching Carapace is similar in size to the Type 51 IBC, but intended for squad insertions. Though only catalogued afterwards, the T-53 SBC did see some use during the Covenant War. Finally, we have the Type 54 Mass Deployment Carapace from the Lodam Armory. Typically affixed to large capital ships, this pod is rather unique in its operation. Rather than impacting the ground, thrusters slow the pod to a halt above its target location, allowing troops inside to disembark, after which the pod returns to its host vessel. This was originally simply meant to avoid the cost of single-use drop pods, but has proven to be highly practical. The pod uses a low-range gravity dampening pulse upon landing, which allows troops on board to safely disembark. The T-54 MDC can hold up to 20 troops. Halo 4 introduces the Type 44 troop carrier, an earlier model of the Phantom that was eventually replaced by the Type 52 model. Almost identical to its successor, the T-44 Phantom operates in much the same way. A T-44 directed energy weapon/medium on its nose provides covering fire for troops as they disembark, either from the side hatches or the belly side gravity lift. Support fire is also provided by T-52 plasma cannons on either side, which are typically operated by Ungoi. The Phantom's nanolaminate hull provides significant protection, though it is not invulnerable. Interestingly, the T-44 Phantom can be outfitted with boarding umbilicals on either side, allowing it to operate as a boarding craft. These umbilicals will break into an enemy craft, typically using a weak spot like a window, then project an energy field to prevent atmosphere from escaping before its complement disembark. The T-44 model are the primary dropship used by Julim Dama's Covenant, due to the scarcity of high charity produced T-52 models. Type 44 Phantoms are operated by one pilot and one weapons officer, and manufactured by Canon Weapons. It can transport up to 30 troops and carry 2 light vehicles such as Banshees or Ghosts, or 1 heavy vehicle like a Wraith with its underbelly gravity supports. And our last air vehicle is the deployment platform Type 56 Ground Support Ultra Heavy, aka the Lich. Though this vehicle was used during the Human Covenant War, UNSC encounters with it often resulted in total losses for the UNSC, resulting in a notable lack of information. Only after the Human Covenant War was the vehicle finally catalogued. Manufactured by Canon Weapons, the Lich is a massive airborne deployment platform, potentially the largest in the Covenant's arsenal. It's operated by one pilot and one weapons officer, and can hold up to 40 passengers. Troops can be deployed from openings along the sides or a gravity lift on the ship's belly. Its bay doors feature 2 Type 52 plasma cannons on either side for support fire, and the Lich has a Type 56 PEW/M primary plasma autocannon, seemingly similar to a Scarab's focus cannon. The Lich is also a space-worthy vessel, and capable of traveling safely through slipspace, though seemingly not under its own power. It can also carry vehicles on its underbelly, up to and including Phantom dropships, such as the newer Type 57 Phantoms that are not space-worthy on their own. And finally, we have the Harvester, aka the Type 58 Ultra Heavy Site Excavator/Embedded, another Lodam Armory production. A massive Tier 5 excavator, the Harvester is both similar and distinct from the Scarab, itself a Tier 4. Harvesters are generally used for long-term invasions or excavation projects, using their plasma drill to unearth Covenant targets. Seemingly, they're moved into position and parked there until a project is complete. Like Scarabs, Harvesters are composed of Lekgolo colonies, in this case, a Sabao Lekgolo, as opposed to the Mega Lekgolo that make up Hunters. Harvesters are compatible with power supplies from Liches as well. In 2557, Gek-Lar, one of Julam Dama's top commanders, purchased a Harvester in order to unearth something in the debris field of the Etrin Harborage, aka Shield World 0459. This may or may not have been the same Harvester later used in February 2558 on Requiem. And that concludes the Halo 4 Covenant Armory. As I said before, it's rather sparse compared to previous games, likely a combination of the greater focus on humanity and the Forerunners, and this being 343's first Halo title. Halo 5 definitely expands the Covenant, or rather Sangheili Armory, by quite a bit. Oh, and by the way, the Lodam in Lodam Armory of course refers to the Lodam clan, a notable member of which was Thel Lodami, the Major from the Halo Legends episode The Package. Fun fact, the creators of that episode intended for him to be the Arbiter from Halo 2 and 3.
He is already shamed. His only path now is death. Or Arbiter.
But since that obviously doesn't work, 343 renamed him. Anyway, next time we'll be looking at the Forerunner arsenal, limited as it is, then wrapping up with a look at the armor abilities available to Spartan 4s and the Master Chief throughout Halo 4. I might include armor mods in there too, but we'll see. For now, let me know what you thought of this video and how you feel about Halo 4's Covenant arsenal in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Special thanks to our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shoutout, check out patreon.com/HaloCanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits, such as behind-the-scenes materials and shoutouts like this. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. If you really enjoy this, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.